All right, guys, good morning. Today we're going to talk about something new. We're going to talk about theme. Theme. What comes to mind when you think about theme? Today's learning objective is going to be deciding what lesson you have learned from a particular story. This story is going to be fiction. As you remember, fiction stories are things that are not true, that are made up. It could happen in real life, but it necessarily doesn't have to. It could also be something that's completely made up that could never happen in real life. So we're going to be reading some fictional stories and thinking about the theme, what the author is trying to teach us about life and everyday situations. For instance, be careful what you wish for. Spend your money wisely, try to treat your friends with the most respect, try to help others out in time of need. So there's several things that authors do inside of a story and explain in a story to try to get us to learn lessons about life. Why do you think about this for just a second. I want you to think about this for 10 seconds. Why do you think it's important for us to learn life lessons? So at this point, the students would quietly think for 10 seconds about the question that I just asked them about why is it important for everyone to learn life lessons. All right, guys, so let's think about this. Let's share our thoughts here. What is our thoughts on life lessons? Why is it important for us to have life lessons or to learn life lessons from stories? So at this point, students would share their responses. I would pull popsicle sticks to give them multiple opportunities to share, not just call on people who raise their hand or to check in, so everyone has the opportunity to share their thoughts and share their opinions and have the opportunity to really engage in conversation. The next thing that I would do is I would write on the board or right behind me the learning objective, and that is to determine the life lesson, the theme, the main thing that the author is trying to teach us in the fictional story. By looking at the characters' actions, by looking at what they're saying to one another, how they're treating each other, and their attitudes towards the certain situation that they are encountering. I'll also really focus on what the challenge is the main characters are facing. That way, that by looking at the characters' challenges and how they respond to those challenges is how the author kind of teaches us what they want us to learn about everyday life and what they want to us to take away from that lesson. So at this point, I would show a video of what theme is, kind of give them an idea, kind of give those visual learners a visual of what theme would be. So we've talked about it. Now we're going to watch a video on it and how it helps those learners that need to actually see what theme is. So this is where I would show a video of what theme is. So after the video, I would ask the students, okay guys, what did you take away from that video? Take about 10 seconds and think about it. And at this point, I would give the students 10 seconds to think about what they took away from that video. And then I would ask them, all right, guys, let's go ahead and turn and talk and think about and talk to your partner about what you learned from the video. What is one thing you took away from that video? And that point, I would give them about 20 seconds to speak to one another of something they learned from the video. And afterwards, I would pull popsicle sticks again to give equitable opportunity for everyone to have the opportunity to speak and voice their thoughts on the video. After the video and thinking about what the students need to get to gather from the video and our discussion that we've had so far, I would read the book, The Bad Case of Stripes. And The Bad Case of Stripes is when we will talk more about theme and what the students gathered from that. So at this point, it's more of a we do opportunity. So I would read the story. So at this point, I would read the story. All right, boys and girls. So we have read the story, The Bad Case of Stripes. What do you think? How do you think the main character acted throughout the story? Yes, she acted very scared. She did not want her classmates to what? Very good. She did not want her classmates to really know that she really liked lima beans. She didn't want them to know that. She thought that that would be weird and strange and that they would judge her for that. What else? What else could we gather? What kind of text evidence could you pull from that? Okay, the time that the doctor came in and asked her for if she wanted lima beans, and she told her no, that it wasn't cool. She didn't want people to know. And then that's kind of what was the challenge? What was the main challenge that she faced here? Very good. That she liked lima beans, but she did not want to tell her classmates that she liked lima beans. So at the end of the story, what exactly happened? Yes, very good. So she ended up eating lima beans and it made her feel better, right? So at the end of the story, what do you think she or we as a class could take away from that story? What is something that you could learn that the author is really trying to teach us here? What do you think about that? Let's take about 10 seconds. I want you to think about that and what all he is wanting us to learn. Remember, you're thinking about what all happened in the story. You're also thinking about the challenges that the character faced. How did she respond to those challenges? Did she have a bad attitude? Did she have courage to fight through? Did she end up really displaying her feelings a certain way? Think about those things as you're doing your think time. So at this point, the students would think about everything that happened in the book. They would go back and think about how the characters reacted, what the challenge was that they faced. They would also think about how they responded to that challenge. So what did the character do to, did they respond in a negative way, a positive way? How did that impact them as a character? And then at the end of them doing think time, I would give them about 10-20 seconds to really think about it, because I think it's important for students to think for themselves first and then come together and share their thoughts. So at this point, I would say, okay, boys and girls, what were your thoughts? What do you think the theme of this story is? Remember, our learning objective is determine the theme of a text by looking at characters' actions, how they respond to challenges, and other important information that happened in the story. Very good. Don't worry about others. What else? What else can we think about? Okay, very good. So make sure that you don't care what others think about you. Very good. Very good. So we have to really think about, as in life, just because you think it's weird doesn't mean anybody else might think it's weird. Also, you have to be you, right? You have to be your own individual person. So what you may like, somebody else may not like. So always be thinking about that. So to wrap up today's lesson, that was really, really great. I want us to think about this. We're going to have an exit ticket that I'm going to give you through Google Classroom. You're going to fill it out. I've given you a Google Doc. I've already uploaded it into Google Classroom. You are going to read a short story. It is a fairy tale. And in that short story, it's about a paragraph long. You are going to look at the evidence, look at the main character, how they act, what they say, how their attitude is, and you're going to determine the theme of that short story, something that you can pull away that the author is really trying to teach us here. You're going to type in your answer, and you're going to submit it back to me, and then I'm going to comment and give you feedback on that by tomorrow, at the beginning of tomorrow. So when you're ready to learn more on theme tomorrow, you have an explanation of how you did and where you stand and what you need to know to move on to tomorrow's lesson. So in Google Classroom here in just a second, you will see an exit ticket. I want you to type in your response, read the story, type in your response, and submit it back to me. Okay, so this lesson was a fifth grade standard on theme. It's an Alabama standard, RL 5.2, and it's the way I see a lesson is I feel like it is a very gradual release where you begin by talking to the students, getting them excited about the lesson, moving into a lot of partner work, a lot of thinking for themselves first, and then coming back together and sharing our thoughts with each other, and then me coming in and sharing something I need to teach them, whether it's a book, whether it's a passage, whether it's some kind of project, whether it's some kind of slideshow, anything of that sort that gets them really involved into the lesson and really interacting. You don't want to bore them. The way I will differentiate is making sure that each student understands. I will make sure to meet with each person, pull small group, make sure, depending on where they are level wise, that I'm meeting with them and giving them maybe an easier passage. I'm also kind of scaffolding them, giving them some more choices, giving them, instead of letting them voice their own, kind of giving them some choices to choose from rather than letting them come up with everything on their own like I did as a whole group. My small group would be a little different. They would have a little bit more one-on-one assistance where I give them a passage, give them more answers, and give them a little bit more time to think. I would also allow them to work more together. That way they can help one another, because I feel like it's really, really important for students to interact with one another when they need differentiating and scaffolding, because I feel like they learn the best from one another, because what one student may say, another student may not think about. So it's really important for them to kind of voice their own opinion there and answer, so everybody can understand and everybody can get different viewpoints. Also, at the end of my lesson, I mentioned in Google Classroom that's where they would do their exit ticket. I'm really big on exit tickets. I'm also really big on entrance tickets. Entrance tickets is something that I feel like kind of gives them like a refresher from the day before. This is very similar to an exit ticket, with the exception of, hey, this is what happened yesterday. Remember, this is what we're going to do. So it's kind of like a refresher type thing to kind of refresh their memory. The exit ticket is very good because it allows me at the end of the lesson to see where everyone stands. So the next day I can go in and I can really meet with those students that are still struggling. This really gives me an idea before I give them a big assessment at the end. It gives me an idea of what student needs the most help and where they need that most help. It gives me an idea of what I need to do on my end to give them the assistance they need. So after they have filled out their exit ticket from Google Classroom, I will read through those and I will actually type them feedback on each exit ticket. And that exit ticket will be given back to them. So that's very explicit feedback that I give each individual student and I send back to them. That way they have the information they need and what they need to work on for the next day and upcoming for any kind of assessments that they have coming up. So I feel like it's really, really important for students to really know where they are, so they have the idea of where they need to work and what area they need to focus on. Because I think if they don't have that, they can't be successful. It's our responsibility to help them along the way and give them that feedback that they need.